Dubai. When you think of this city, what comes to mind? Towering skyscrapers, extravagant malls, luxury fountains, the epitome of modernity and wealth. But what if I told you that all of it is just a facade? Beneath this glittering exterior lies a completely different Dubai, one that starkly contrasts the postcard-perfect image we see. Not long ago, old Dubai was little more than a port on the Gulf, modest with few attractions or wealth. But then came the vision of Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and the transformation was staggering. Today, it's marketed as the Las Vegas of the Middle East, a playground of extravagance. But here's the catch. Dubai isn't what it seems. This is one of the 7 principalities of the United Arab Emirates, ruled by a dictator under strict Islamic law. And that's where the controversies begin. If you ever visit Dubai, take care. Stories abound of foreigners visiting for work or leisure only to end up detained or worse, imprisoned for actions they didn't even know were illegal. Things as simple as touching someone in public or drinking alcohol, activities that seem ordinary, can land you in serious trouble. One of the most shocking cases, a Norwegian woman was arrested after being raped. And it doesn't stop there. Even online speech is tightly controlled. Criticizing the government or expressing political opinions is outright forbidden. Think about that for a moment. A city marketed as a global tourist hub where you can't openly say what you think. But this is just scratching the surface. While Dubai positioned itself as a leader in global tech and biotech development, its record on human rights and basic human development tells a very different story. Those glimmering skyscrapers, the ones built for billions of dollars, they were constructed by an invisible workforce. Immigrant workers, mostly from India and Pakistan, are drawn to Dubai with promises of a better life. But when they arrive, they find themselves trapped in what can only be described as a modern-day slavery. They work grueling hours under the scorching desert sun, temperatures so intense that tourists are warned to stay indoors. And as if that weren't bad enough, let's talk about Dubai's infrastructure, or lack thereof. Next time you're stuck in traffic in Dubai and notice tanker trucks clogging the streets, here's the reason. They're hauling sewage. Yes, one of the world's most luxurious cities doesn't have a proper sewage system. Every single day, these trucks carry waste out of the city. The reality of Dubai is a stark contrast to its glossy image. If all of this surprises you, buckle up. There's even more to unpack in this video. In just 50 years, Dubai transformed itself from a small fishing village into a sprawling metropolis, home of the world's largest shopping mall, the tallest skyscraper, and countless millionaires. But how did this happen so quickly? Until 1971, Dubai was under British rule. After gaining independence, it joined 6 nearby emirates to form the United Arab Emirates. Despite the federation, each emirate retained autonomy, ruled by its own emir with absolute power. Rewind to the mid-19th century and Dubai was just a tiny fishing village. Its strategic location made it a crucial stop for ships traveling between the United Kingdom and India. Over time, pearl diving became its main economic driver, a lucrative but unstable industry. Then came World War II. By the end of the war, Dubai's population of just over 20,000 faced economic hardship. Desperate for a solution, its rulers struck a deal with the British to explore for oil. In the 1960s, Dubai finally found oil, just like its neighbors. But there was one major difference. The reserves were far smaller. Abu Dhabi's reserves, for instance, were 10 times larger. That's where Sheikh Rashid Al Maktoum's vision came in. Recognizing that Dubai couldn't rely on oil alone, he reinvested the revenues into transforming the city. The focus shifted to tourism and financial services. This strategy worked. Dubai attracted millions of immigrants with its favorable tax policies, while global millionaires brought their businesses, fueling rapid growth. Today, locals make up just 5% of the population. Between 2000 and 2005, Dubai's GDP grew at an impressive rate of 13% annually. Its economy diversified quickly. Oil, which once dominated, now accounts for less than 1% of GDP, while tourism contributes to 20%, making Dubai the 4th most visited city in the world. But Maktoum's ambitions didn't stop there. To reduce reliance on oil further, Dubai committed to renewable energy. By 2050, it plans to generate 44% of its energy from renewables and improve energy efficiency by 40%. Tourism, meanwhile, continues to be a driving force, generating $28 billion annually before the pandemic. Yet, beneath all this success lies a more complicated reality. Dubai's glittering skyline tells a story of progress, luxury, and modernity. But beneath the surface, the reality is far more troubling. Within the United Arab Emirates, Dubai operates under a non-democratic regime governed by Islamic law. Despite its futuristic image, its governance is anything but modern. In 2021, the world was stunned by the story of Sheikha Latifa, daughter of Dubai's ruler. Kidnapped under her father's orders, she was held captive for years. Secret videos of Latifa in isolation were leaked to the BBC, exposing the case. This wasn't the first incident. In 2000, her sister Shamsa faced a similar fate. To this day, her whereabouts remain unknown. Latifa, after global attention, now appears to live under limited freedom. And for tourists, the laws can be just as unforgiving. Under rules that many in the West find absurd, visitors to Dubai risk imprisonment for actions as minor as touching someone, showing public affection, or criticizing the country online. One infamous case in 2013 shocked the world. Norwegian citizen Marte Deborah Dale reported a rape to Dubai authorities. When advised by a colleague that proving the crime would be difficult, she retracted her statement, claiming the encounter was consensual, in hopes of leaving the country. Instead, she was sentenced to 16 months in prison for filing a false report, consuming alcohol, and engaging in extramarital relations. Intense global media pressure led to her eventual release. But it's not just tourists who face the brunt of Dubai's oppressive system. The UAE is an authoritarian dictatorship, often condemned by human rights organizations for its violent crackdowns on dissent. Freedom of expression doesn't exist, and journalists, activists, and academics frequently face unjust imprisonment for defying the government. And yet, the darker side of Dubai runs even deeper. Behind the city's towering skyscrapers, built in the middle of the desert, lies a hidden workforce. A 2009 report by journalist Johan Hari tells the story of Sahinal Monir, a man from Bangladesh recruited to work in Dubai. Promised a salary far higher than he could earn at home, he arrived with dreams of a better life. Instead, his passport was confiscated upon arrival. He was forced to work 14-hour days under the desert sun for far less than promised. To make matters worse, he had to pay the recruitment agency for his travel expenses, a debt that would take at least 2 years to clear. With no way home, he had no choice but to endure. Conditions were inhuman. Dorms lacked air conditioning and reeked of excrement. Workers carry heavy bricks in 50 degrees Celsius heat, sweating so much they couldn't urinate for days. Missing work due to illness meant wage deductions. The 2008 recession only made things worse. Many construction companies left Dubai, often abandoning workers without returning their passports or paying salaries. The human cost is staggering. In 2005 alone, the Indian consulate recorded 971 deaths among Indian workers in Dubai. Human Rights Watch attributes these deaths to extreme heat, overwork, and suicides, though companies often obscure the true cases. This is the reality behind Dubai's gleaming facade. 15 years later, nothing has changed. At Expo Dubai, one of the world's most prominent events, a global gathering held every 5 years to discuss innovation, culture, and technology, a moment of exposure shook its latest edition. This wasn't part of the agenda. Equity, a human and labor rights charity, published a 40-page report boldly titled Exposé. The name cleverly plays on the event's title, revealing the darker reality of labor practices in Dubai and the UAE. The findings were damning. The report highlighted appalling conditions faced by workers, many of whom are migrants, even within Expo itself. It detailed illegal recruitment fees, forced debt, and wage theft. Alarmingly, 37% of workers interviewed at Expo reported indicators of forced labor, and 83% admitted paying recruitment fees illegally. During the pandemic, wages, already delayed and insufficient, were slashed by up to 75%. Workers signed contracts they couldn't understand, written in languages they didn't speak. Discrimination was rampant. A third of workers reported prejudice at their jobs. Asians, in particular, bore the brunt. As a Pakistani migrant explained, Asians get the hardest jobs and the lowest pay, while Europeans and Arabs do lighter work for higher salaries. And when layoffs happen, Asians are always the first to go. Though Expo 2020 sparked discussions on these issues, the government's promises of reform, like stricter inspections, have done little to solve the problem. But here's the twist. Dubai's problems don't stop at labor exploitation. Take the Burj Khalifa. At 828 meters and 160 floors, is the tallest building in the world, the so-called heart and soul of Dubai. But this symbol of modernity hides a surprising flaw. It lacks its own sewage system. Yes, the world's tallest building relies on tanker trucks to remove its waste. A viral video from years ago showed long lines of sewage trucks clogging Dubai's streets, raising one question. How does a city that prides itself on progress fail at something so basic? The answer lies in the city's history. In the late 1960s and 70s, migrants from India and Pakistan flocked to Dubai for job opportunities. The population exploded, growing by 300% in just 7 years. By 1990, Dubai had 1 skyscraper. Today, there are over 400. This rapid expansion overwhelmed the city's infrastructure. By 2010, Dubai's sole sewage treatment plant was running at double capacity. Skyscrapers, including the Burj Khalifa, had to improvise. The Burj alone produces 15 tons of sewage daily. Developers knew the system couldn't handle it, so they relied on tanker trucks to haul the waste to treatment plants. But with long waits, up to 24 hours, some drivers began illegally dumping sewage in deserts or the sea, causing environmental damage. The timing of the Burj Khalifa's construction didn't help. The building was constructed during a dark period in Dubai's history. In 2009, the city was hit hard by the global financial crisis of 2008. With $58 billion in debt, Dubai had to borrow money from Abu Dhabi's central bank to stay afloat. The government's solution was to attract tourists. As a result, the construction of the Burj Khalifa was accelerated, while the sewage problem was ignored. The developers, knowing the city's sewage system couldn't handle the building's waste, decided to use tanker trucks to transport it to treatment facilities outside the city. Many other projects followed this example. This led to massive traffic jams of sewage trucks in Dubai's streets. Some drivers, faced with 24-hour waits to unload, began dumping waste in unauthorized locations, including the desert and the sea, causing environmental damage and water contamination. In 2019, the government announced a multi-billion-dollar project to address the sewage crisis. The Dubai Strategic Sewerage Tunnel is a $6.8 billion project designed to last 100 years. Instead of relying on over 100 pumping stations, Dubai will use gravity to move wastewater, cutting energy costs, reducing emissions, and making the system more sustainable. Other cities have tried this, like London's Thames Tideway Tunnel, but Dubai is taking it to the next level. The project is split into 6 phases, funded through public-private partnerships, with major global infrastructure firms competing for contracts. Dubai is expected to award the first package of the project in 2025, but once complete, this will be one of the most advanced sewer systems in the world, future-proofed for decades as the city grows. So, what do you think about Dubai? Leave a comment below and don't forget to tell me what you think about this video. Now, remember when smoking was everywhere? Movies, ads, and even doctors recommending cigarettes? Then came the bans, the warnings, and smoking rates plummeted. But big tobacco didn't disappear, it adapted. Now it's vaping, flavors, sleek designs, and aggressive social media marketing. Instead of billboards and Hollywood, it's TikTok and influencers. And the worst part, it's working. So, is history repeating itself? To understand that and more, click on this video that's on screen right now, and I'll see you there. That's it for this video. Bye bye.